rather than looking at what happens between you and me if it is used, what I would like to see discussed is what happens if it's used by 1 billion people, because that's a different question. So I will give you an example from hiring. There's a lot of evidence that hiring historically has been biased. People hire people like them, people hire from their alumni networks disproportionately, which seems like a positive, but if you're not in those networks, it's like a problem. There are racial biases, there are gender biases, so we know all of that. So there's a great push to use more automated systems to do hiring to help with the human biases, which I'm there, right? This is good. And people have discovered that, when you train it on the human data, it kind of picks up some of those human biases, sure. Fine. But you know what? It might even be easier to fix than humans, right? Because if humans are biased, sometimes convincing them is harder. So I'm even with AI, at least we can deliberately say, oh, we detected a bias and use it as an opportunity to correct it. And we could end up with more diverse workforce. So sounds great, right? So here's an example of the kind of problem we could be facing. Computational systems, AI systems, have been shown to be able to infer things, which means they can kind of deduce from your data things that we as a human being could not. For example, they have been used...
Facebook, for example, showing that people are gay when otherwise they wouldn't be able to necessarily know.
People have been... people prone to chronic depression, yeah. People with compulsive gambling problems, people who might be prone to getting pregnant in the next year before they're either pregnant or depressed or any of that, or people who are introverted, or people... There's all these sort of not obvious in a job interview things that once it sort of looks at all your data, it could infer. For example, we use AI to hire. We kind of fix the gender race bias by deliberately intervening. We know already humans do it. Everything looks great. We got, racial diversity, we got gender, everything looks great. And then we discover everybody prone to the chronic depression has been weeded out by the computer without us even knowing that's what it was doing, because we asked it to match our existing workforce or existing high producers or whoever we had. Or we had a lot of, very aggressive, unpleasant people, and we just said, match this. It just matched this.
Because regulations as they stand
would not match
that because you wouldn't even know that you're discriminating.
And in fact, before AI, it wasn't really possible to do this at scale, right? You couldn't just, you might have said, I am going to eliminate everybody prone to chronic depression, which would not be a good thing, which would be a terrible society if we did that, but you couldn't really infer from just a job interview, whereas we know from scientific studies, just people's Instagram posts, the AI can infer that, and it's not something easy because they take the same things, and if you show it to people, people can't eyeball it. So it's not something as simple as they're posting gray colors or they're posting sort of
no, there are underlying patterns that come from crunching massive data.
There are something it's detecting. For example, can AI weed out people who might be prone to unionizing? The ones who will be whistleblowers, the ones these sound science fiction-y until you start reading the literature and you're like, wait, it can do all of this. And whether or not it can do this 100%, or whether or not it can do this better than a person doesn't really matter. Yeah. Because if it can do it 80% of the time and it just costs 10 cents,
then you're going to use it.
They're going to use it. Whereas in the past, if you wanted to find the potential whistleblowers or union organizers, you had to spend $10,000 investigating each person. You're not going to use it.